Viofo A139 Pro 4K, Thinkware U1000, and the Viofo A129 Pro. Which is the best 4K dash camera for you? We're going to compare these three. And we're going to show you comparison video of driving through a tunnel, driving at night, driving through the day, and how all three of these units do at picking up license plates. Anyways, I'm Ben from Safe Drive Solutions, your dash cam specialist. Let's go. Dash cam resolution. The Viofo A139 Pro has a front Sony Starvis 2 4K 8 megapixel sensor and a rear Sony Starvis 1080p 2 megapixel sensor. The Thinkware U1000 uses a front 4K 8 megapixel Sony Starvis image sensor and a rear 2K 1440p Sony Starvis image sensor. The Viofo A129 Pro uses a front 4K 8 megapixel Sony Exmor image sensor and a rear 1080p Sony Starvis image sensor. The other thing is you can change all three of these units. You can change the front camera from 4K resolution to 2K 1440p 60 frames per second, which means it'll take up to 60 pictures per second. It'll be a little bit smoother. Most people do leave it on 4K because it is a bigger image, but all three units do have the capability of making this change. Viewing angle. The Viofo A139 Pro has a front 140 degree wide viewing angle and a rear 170 degree wide viewing angle. The Thinkware U1000 has 150 degree wide and rear 156 degree wide viewing angle. The Viofo A129 Pro has a front 130 degree and a rear 140 degree wide viewing angle. High dynamic range. The Viofo A129 and Thinkware U1000 do not have HDR, which is high dynamic range, but it does have WDR, which is wide dynamic range. Wide dynamic range processes images to ensure clear recordings in bright and dark light. This allows the dash camera to combine multiple images at different levels of brightness to create one superior image. The Viofo A139 Pro has high dynamic range. This is the second 4K camera that I've seen on the market that actually has high dynamic range in a 4K resolution. The HDR enables the camera to deliver video with near perfect exposure in varying lighting situations. It can enhance video quality, especially when it comes to the issue of front license plate being overexposed at night. G sensor. You may actually hear this from time to time that people say their dash camera has a G sensor. Well, what is it? The G sensor measures shock forces and locks the video at the recorded time. If you have a Thinkware dash camera already, or if you're looking at one, what will happen is as you're driving around, they will do this. Beep, beep. And then it'll take that and actually lock the video into a separate video file folder. Now, with a Viofo, you're going to hear this.
Video protected.
And basically, you can actually change the level of sensitivity from low to high. Determine the amount of force needed in order to trigger that event. And depending on your settings on the dash camera, it will actually lock the file without ever recording over. While some dash cameras, you can actually turn the SD card off where it'll keep overriding over those as well. It's just a matter of settings. Either way, but all these dash cameras do have a G sensor capability. Dual band Wi-Fi. So, all three of these cameras support 2 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. Now, as I've come to know recently, if you change these dash cameras all to 5 gigahertz, it will actually download videos 3 to 4 times faster, while some older dash cameras on the market will not support the 5 gigahertz option. Well, that way it will actually take 3 to 4 times longer to download a video to your phone. All of these units also support Android and iOS apps so that you can pair your phone and download videos directly to your phone. SD card capacity. The Viofo supports up to a 256 gigabyte micro SD card, while the Thinkware supports up to a 128 gigabyte micro SD card. Now, when you actually purchase any of these units, the Viofo doesn't come with a micro SD card, and the Thinkware comes with a 32 gigabyte micro SD card in the box. Now, the big thing is when you are looking to purchase any of these things, you want to make sure that you're getting a high quality micro SD card. I would recommend checking out our SD card video of what we recommend for SD cards for dash cameras, or definitely try and stick with the manufacturer's recommendations as well. GPS information. So, for all three units, the GPS is actually built directly into the unit. For Viofo, it will actually supply you speed and location data of where the video was recorded. Thinkware, you will actually get the capability of red light and speed camera notifications, as well as speed and GPS location. You can also choose to turn off GPS speed for both Thinkware and Viofo in case you have a heavy foot. Parking mode. Both the Viofo A139 Pro and the Viofo A129 Pro have 3 parking mode options. They have auto event detection, which will automatically record when detecting moving objects or impact while the car is parked. They have time lapse, which is the video was recorded at a low frame per second from 1, 2, 3, 5, or 10 frames per second, or low bitrate recording. You can lower the resolution to save space while recording. You can change this through the LCD screen on the A129 or the Wi-Fi app on the A129 and A139 Pro. The Thinkware U1000 has 4 available parking modes. They have motion detection, which means anytime somebody walks by, drives by, it'll actually wake up and record. They have time lapse, which means it'll record at 2 frames per second. They also have energy saving mode. Their energy saving mode draws really low current and will last for a very long time in parking mode. So how this works is if you get hit while parked, 1 second after impact, it'll wake up and start recording and save it into a separate video file. There's also one last option. You can do energy saving mode with the radar module. The radar module is an extra part and will cost anywhere up to $100 depending on where you are in the world. And what it basically does is it detects movement coming towards the vehicle. And as it detects the movement coming towards the vehicle, it'll wake up and start recording. If there's no impact to the vehicle, it will actually delete the recording and go right back to sleep. So this kind of gives it an option of kind of like a motion detection and impact all in one, but it actually draws a lot less current. Parking mode cable and low battery protection. So for Viofo, you need to hook up power, ground, and ignition. And in order for the low battery protection to work, you must use the selector switch on the cable. It gives you the options of 11.8, 12, 12.2, and 12.4 volts, which this adapter and selector switch will actually be hidden under the dash, and it may be hard to get to, so we do recommend setting it for anywhere from 12 volts and higher. Thinkware, you actually, same thing, you have to hook up power, ground, ignition, but you can select low battery protection digitally through the Wi-Fi app. You also have, for parking mode cables, there is the option to get an OBD2 cable for do-it-yourselfers to also do that for parking mode. Parking recording duration. You have a couple different options here. You can either leave it disabled on both units, which basically means the camera will continue recording until the hardwire kit hits the low battery protection threshold, and shuts the dash camera off. Or 2, the Viofo gives you the option of setting for a 30-minute, 1 hour, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 24, and 48-hour parking mode. Keep in mind the low battery protection, as soon as it hits, it will shut it off. So if that's 10 minutes after you park your car, it's shutting off 10 minutes after you park your car. If that's 12 hours after you park your car, that's 12 hours after you park your car. The Thinkware gives the option of 3, 6, 12, 24, 48, and 72 hours for parking mode. Keep in mind, from what I see on most vehicles, you usually only get maybe a consistent 3 to 6 hours unless you actually look at investing in a power cell or a separate battery to actually allow it to last a lot longer. And that's mainly because most vehicles out on the market have very small batteries and will not support long time running in parking mode. Loop recording or video length recording. Viofo has flexible options of 1, 2, 3, 5, or 10-minute video recordings, while the Thinkware has options of 1-minute video recordings. Now, the main difference is with Thinkware, if there is any impacts at all while driving, it will actually do a separate 20-second video file that will be put into the impact folder. File list organization. Viofo has 3 major files folders. They have all files, locked files, and parking files. All files are going to have all your video files. Locked files are going to have ones that have been triggered by the emergency recording button, or the parking files means there was video shot while you were parked. Thinkware has 5 different folders: continuous incident, motion detection, parking incident, and manual recording. Continuous is what all your videos that go into that file while you're driving. Continuous incident means there was impacts, which could be speed bumps, potholes, aggressive braking, or a collision. Motion detection, if you have this turned on in parking mode, this is where those video files will go. Parking incident, if you get hit while parked, this is where those videos will go. And manual recording is if you hit the manual recording button, the little REC button, and that's where those video files will go. LCD screen. Out of all 3 of these units, the only one who has an LCD screen is the Viofo A129 Pro. It has an LCD screen which allows you to easily go through the menus of the dash camera and change settings. So if you're not tech savvy, this would be a good choice for you. As the A139 Pro and the Thinkware U1000, you need to actually change all the settings via the Wi-Fi mobile app. Cable sizes. I actually forgot to record this section, and I was about to fully publish the video, and then I remembered the A139 Pro has the smallest cable to go from the front to the back. So if you're looking to run a wire all the way from the front to the back, the A139 Pro is half the size and thickness than the A129 Pro cable. And the Thinkware U1000 cable is about the same thickness or bigger than the A129 Pro cable, which makes it harder to run from the front to the back, especially if you're doing it yourself. So one of the big benefits is this, how small the cable is on the A139 Pro. Voice recording. All 3 of these units have voice recording, and all 3 units you can actually turn the microphone off very easily. So the main thing with this is actually all 3 units have a separate button that you can push, and it will actually turn the microphone on or off. So if you are worried about having some privacy for maybe a professional phone call or something like that, you can always turn it off temporarily and then easily turn it back on. Now, one of the great things about the A139 Pro, which I actually really like and love because currently I am using it in my vehicle is you can actually get the professional lavalier microphone kit. So I actually put that in, and I've done a few vlogs with it, and I'm actually pretty impressed at the sound quality when using that exterior microphone. Now, here's an example of what all three sound like and what the A139 Pro sounds like with the lavalier microphone.
Okay, here we go. Viofo A139 Pro versus the Thinkware U1000 and the Viofo A129 Pro. Okay, here we go. Viofo A139 Pro versus the Thinkware U1000 and the Viofo A129 Pro for. Okay, here we go. Viofo A139 Pro versus the Thinkware U1000 and the Viofo A129 Pro. Okay, here we go. Viofo A139 Pro versus the Thinkware U1000 and the Viofo A129 Pro 4K. All three of them going through the tunnel test, all three of them mounted on the windshield.
Okay, let's summarize the pros and cons of all these three dash cameras. First things first, the Viofo A139 Pro. Pros: high dynamic range. Support up to a 256 gigabyte micro SD card. The night vision is by far the best out of the three units. It's using the new Sony Starvis 2 image sensor, so it has the newest technology. And it's the best dash cam I have tested for picking up license plates out of multiple dash cameras on the market. Cons: it's only using a 1080p rear camera. The file organization is a step down on Thinkware's. And you have to turn off your cellular data on your phone in order to view the videos on your phone. Pros of the Thinkware U1000. It uses a 2K rear camera. It has energy saving mode for parking mode, and it will give you red light and speed camera notifications. Cons of the Thinkware U1000. is it has no high dynamic range, maximum 128 gigabyte micro SD card, and frankly, it talks too much. The pros of the Viofo A129 Pro is it has an LCD screen, supports up to a 256 gigabyte micro SD card, and is the smallest size of all three dash cameras. The cons is it has no high dynamic range. It's a 1080p rear camera. The front camera is not using Sony Starvis technology. File organization, much like the A139 Pro. And you have to turn off cellular data on your phone to view videos. Hope you loved our video comparison of these three 4K dash cameras. To me, they're all very good dash cameras. You can't really go wrong with any of them. However, I will say there is one clear winner from a lot of testings, and that is the A139 Pro. And the main reason why that's clear, it has that newer technology, the Sony Starvis 2 sensor, the way it's reacting at night, the way it's picking up license plates way more frequently than other dash cameras that I've ever seen before. I mean, it doesn't pick up a license plate every single time, but it's definitely a lot more clear, it's more accurate, and it seems to work really well. So either way, there's lots of pros and cons on all the different units that we just showed you in this video. And as you can see, they all do very good video quality. And if you want to capture an accident, all three of these are going to do that. Either way, it's Ben from Safe Drive Solutions. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Cheers.